being a black officer, being an officer is a very tough job. But that's no excuse for the things that go on, which we'll get into.
Absolutely, man. So I got to backtrack a little bit, man. What do you say to a parent, man, that just lost their child to suicide, man? Like,
because you got to deliver the news, right?
So, not to get into too much detail, but they found him.
Oh,
they found him.
Wow. But how do you even try to console them, though? You know what I mean?
Wow.
And here's the thing: how do you try to console them when it's your first day?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Like,
because in field training,
I need to be consoled.
Yeah. And now how field training works is like the first couple weeks or first week or so, the training officer that you're with handles mostly everything.
Okay.
And then they start to give you a little leeway and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, you have on a badge and a uniform. Mm-hmm. So no one knows it's my first day.
Right.
If I walk in a Quick Trip, you don't know if it's my first day or my 10th day. Mm-hmm. You know, either way, you know, people like to make the donut jokes and stuff like that where you're, but nobody knows, you know, when I'm in Quick Trip.
That's true.
And so you do the best you can. I mean, I've never lost a child. I've lost a parent, and it's devastating. And so you just try to be compassionate. You try to be loving, and really you don't say much.
Right.
You just be straightforward.
You answer questions when
if they have questions. And I mean, this is the worst moment of their life, and you're a part of it now. Man. So you got to be some type of stability. Yeah. Just stability. Yeah. You don't got to be great. You don't be terrible.
Right. Just
be even keel and be there. And I've seen a ton of people that have left Earth, right. Whether it's drugs, whether it's suicide, whether it's heart attack. I've been there, and that's the thing that we have in common. We're humans, and when you lose somebody, whether you're black or white or Hispanic or whatever, it hits you the same. And so so that was the situation.
So what about I don't know if that was maybe was that your worst time on the force, or was there a different time where you felt like, no, tell me about a time where you felt like you wanted to do something to maybe the suspect or the person that you found out was doing something. I mean, because I know you experience things and it's like you still got to uphold the law, and sometimes you want to pull out your gun and do something crazy, but you got to uphold the law. So speak to me about a time like that.
I won't get into too much detail in every story that I tell. Absolutely. I'll just give you the basics. I had a situation where a young male, we got called to his house. He was in his 20s. He leaves the house after, because we were looking for him. He leaves the house before we get there. The parents tell us what's going on, and he was doing some stuff he shouldn't have been doing, dangerous to other people. And so other cars come into my area because there's different beats. 1, 2.
What part of town were you? Never mind.
I was in North County.
Okay.
I'll say that. So other officers jump over to help you in a domestic situation or something like that, because domestic situations are very dangerous. People are hyped up. Anything can happen. So he was African American, and I end up saying we're driving around looking for him. We can't find him. It's starting to get a little dark, and so I say everybody else go back into service, which means go back to your areas. If I see him, I'll let you know. I'm gonna drive around. So I drive around and I see the person fitting the description. So I park my car. I get out and I say, hey, we're probably 30 feet away from each other at this point. I say, hey, are you such and such? Maybe not even that far. And he's like, F you. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, that don't bother me.
And he know you a cop.
Yeah, because I got my uniform. He knows. He's like, F you. I'm like, hey, are you such and such? And I have to engage with him because what he did, I need to talk to him, and we need to figure this out.
Right.
Because he's dangerous. His parents said he was dangerous at that time.
Right.
So I walk up to him, and we're maybe where that camera is to me, like maybe 10 feet, 15 feet, and he pulls out a blade. And so he's like, F you, as I'm asking him. And at this point, I don't draw my gun and blah, 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 blah. I don't do that. I don't even draw my gun. I just say,
and he put out a blade.
Yeah. So I'm like, calm down. I'm like, I just want to help you. So, that happens.
Risk it all. He's going to risk it all.
And so at this point, in my mind, he's too far away to do something. Unless he throws this at me, which I'm going to be able to see. But he's not going to leap and stab me without me being able to move or something like that. So I didn't feel in threat for my life, which was important, what we're going to talk about. So yeah, he does that, and I'm like, hey, I need you to drop it. F you. Runs off.
So you could have shot him in that moment
There-
when he was 30 feet away when he pulled
He
out
wasn't
the
30
knife,
feet away at that point. At that point, he was maybe 10, 15 feet away.
and you could have shot him at that moment.
Yeah, I mean,
You would have been within your rights.
Right.
you guys watch TV. You guys read the paper. You know
Right.
that people have been shot for less.
Yeah.
People have been shot
That's
when they
what
didn't
I'm
have
saying.
anything.
But so to that
So
point,
legally, I think in that situation, I'm not going to get prosecuted at that point. I think, and people are going to come to people would come to my defense and say, well, he had a blade and this and that, and it doesn't help that he's black. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So the mental health issue is such a big deal in general, but we got to make sure that we apply that equally to everybody.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that I would have been legally within my right, but I wouldn't have felt right morally doing that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So, absolutely. So then it was more of a moral issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm like the point where I'm trying to get to is, then why do cops who allegedly feel like their life is in danger when nothing is even there? Like this man had a whole knife.
Yeah.
He actually had a knife, and we find out that these other suspects, they don't even have a weapon at all, and nothing is happening.
Well, I try to be careful, and say, I don't know what's in someone's heart, and I don't know how they felt. However, in certain situations that I've heard, if you're that scared, you shouldn't be a cop.
Absolutely. Come on.
You shouldn't
now.
be a cop.
That's the one
And
right there.
because
Key.
you can't shoot and kill someone just because you're scared.
Oh.
Because think
Speak
about if
to
every
it,
time you
man.
got scared as a kid or in high school or in college, you just killed someone. You
A lot of people
you
would be
wanted
dead.
you felt mad, you felt upset, you felt scared, and you just lost it. We're not allowed to do that.
No.
And as a police officer, I think that you should have more responsibility not to kill because you've been trained.
Wow.
You've been trained.
Come on.
You
Listen.
But this is the thing. As a cop, there's been times where I was in police chases. I'll get back to the story in a second. I was times in police chases where they come over the radio and I'm the first car behind the suspect and they're saying he carjacked. There's 3 individuals in the car. I'm thinking about a specific incident. 3 suspects in the car. They carjacked the guy at such and such street and they're all armed. That's what he said. And I'm the lead car. So if they jump, no, there's other cars behind me.
No, I mean like the
In the car, I'm by myself.
Oh wow.
And so there's other police officers behind me, other municipalities. In the chase, this chase went on for like 15 minutes, which in a police chase is a long time.
Right.
And so if they jump out of the car, which they did, I won't get too into detail, but they jump out of the car, they're all armed, and I jump out of the car. It's gunfight.
Yeah.
It could be a gunfight. You don't think I'm scared? you don't think I'm scared
Right.
when we're going 100? I mean, we reached 120 miles an hour easily in this police chase.
Wow.
You don't think I'm scared? Now, in that moment, you don't have a ton of time to be scared. But if it's a 15-minute chase, I'm thinking about my life at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to control your emotions. Being fearful or scared is not the problem. It's when you let it dictate how you act.
Right.
Nice.
When you let it dictate your life. That's life.
That makes
And
a
so
lot of sense.
to finish that story, long story short, he ran off. I was chasing him. At a certain point, he turns around. And when he turns around, he's got this look in his eye. And it's like, he's probably 20 feet away from me again. And at this point, I draw my gun. I draw down and I'm like, get on the ground, get on the ground. So I'm yelling and, some people start to come outside. I won't get too in depth. But I'm thinking in my mind, I had the time to think, oh my goodness, if I shoot and kill him, it's going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I don't want to take this dude's life. I had the time to think about, I don't want to take this dude's life. So at the time, I called over the radio while I'm running, like I'm running down such and such street. And while that's happening, officers are en route because it was right after one of our officers had gotten killed in 2016. So everyone's on high alert.
Yeah.
And so, rest in peace, Blake Snyder. That's who died.
Yeah.
And he died in the first 3 months that I was on, and I was on that night when he died. I was in North County, he was in Afton, but rest in peace to him, obviously.
Absolutely.
So terrible. So praying for his family, obviously, always. Yeah, but so he ends up going to.
You draw it down.
I draw down, and he's just staring at me with this look.
He got the knife in his hand. Still,
Yeah.
or he dropped it.
He didn't drop it.
Wow.
So the knife is in his hand, and I'm drop it. I hear the sirens because the other officers are coming. They're en route. And I hear them say like 30 seconds out or something like that. So I just, oh my God, I'm thinking, if he runs at me and he tries to stab me, I'm probably going to shoot him.
Right.
To be honest.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
And I told him, I don't want to kill him. I said, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to kill you. I don't want to shoot you. Man. Fortunately, other officers showed up. I had the lethal coverage. The other officer had a taser, and we tased him. And he's alive and all that stuff. Wow. And he had mental issues.
That could have went totally.
Now here's the thing: when African Americans and Black people, when people tell me that I shouldn't be a cop or that I'm a sellout or any of those things, what I say is, in that situation, did you want me holding the gun, or did you want me recording with my phone?
Boom, boom.
Which one did you want?
Straight up, we need representation.
Absolutely,
man. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So backtrack. You said he had mental illness. The guy, the suspect.
The suspect, he was mentally ill. Okay. He had some mental issues. And
did you know that at the beginning of that? When did you find that out?
When did I find
that he had mental issues?
I found out after. So, but see, that's the thing. You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
And if you're off your medication stuff, you're not who you're supposed to be. Now, here's this story. I want the audience to really listen to this. When I got back to the station, I was ostracized because I didn't shoot him. So when the officer says, "Why didn't you shoot him?" I said just like this. I didn't shoot him because I didn't feel in fear for my life, which is the reasonable solution. When you're in fear for your life, you can use deadly force. However, that was not the case for me. Because at this point, I've been on the street just a little bit,
right.
And so I'm like, okay, y'all just scared.
Yeah.
Y'all are just doing things you shouldn't be doing, right. And I'm not gonna do that because I was off field training at that point. So I'm like, I made off field training. I'm doing me now, the way I want to do it. So then, one of the officers says, I mean, I would have pumped him full of bullets and took my 3 days administrative leave.
What?
I guess it's a damn joke, man.
Taking somebody's life that easy.
And then go on vacation.
That easy. Because that's the abuse of the authority. Like you were just talking about, you get that badge, you get all of that, you get that gun, and you get that taser, and you get all of that power.
Absolutely. When
really you should be held more responsible, like you just said, more accountable.
Yeah. Well, one of the big issues is qualified immunity now, which makes it very hard to prosecute a police officer.
Can you explain it?
So basically, it's a high threshold. You don't see police officers very often getting convicted of murder.
So the laws are different.
The burden of proof to get an officer, I mean, juries don't usually convict police officers because we want to see the best in them. And if we start convicting them, we make it feel like these are the people that are protecting us. Now, the George Floyd situation, he was obviously choked for almost 9 minutes. Yeah. And we saw it on camera, and it galvanized the world. Yeah. Think about this. When the jury deliberated and when the verdict came down, none of us knew if it was guilty or not.
Yep.
Think about how obvious that video is. Yep. And just to be black in America, at least for me, I still didn't know if he was going to get convicted.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And you had the clearest evidence in the world, and you still worry because we know how the system goes.
But really, so what is it really? What is that qualified immunity like? What does it say that keeps you because I get you got to have some evidence, some high quality evidence.
Yeah. Well, I mean
evidence is evidence. I mean,
the main thing is that they basically it's taking into account the officer's job, what they have to deal with, the situation, and really what a lot of people will make an excuse about is, well, they've dealt with thousands of people before and they've never killed anyone, as if that makes okay. Like what does Chris Rock say? He says, you work for an airlines, you can't land the plane some of the time, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I went on 300 flights. I've flown for 30 years. Okay, but if you get on the airplane drunk or something and you mess up, we die.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So like Chris Rock said, it's funny, but it's true. Some jobs you can't be bad at.
Yeah. No.
You can be bad at making fries. you can be bad at back in the old days when they used to pump gas. Yeah. And you're not great. And I tell you to stop on 20 and you stop on 22. 22. But a police officer, that is a job that you cannot be bad in.
Period.
And
Say
that's,
well
that.
said,
That's
man.
that's
That's well
well
said.
said.
And that's
cannot be bad at being the police, and we gotta start holding these police accountable, man. Like the accountability, we gotta figure out a way to get that level up, man.
we need police. You know, I know we're going to talk
Yes,
about a little bit more,
absolutely.
but we need police, and people will try to pick this video apart. I know, and they'll pick this apart or this apart, but listen to the full video. Police aren't going
in its
anywhere.
entirety.
No.
Police are not
I'm
going
not
anywhere.
against police.
We need police.
Disclaimer: we are not against police,
And we need the
them
police.
because
We
if
need
something
police.
happens,
I'm calling police.
I'm calling police.
But you know what we need more? We need good police more than we need bad police.
That's
And,
true.
and at the end of the day, I'd rather a city or county be short-staffed and have good officers than have a surplus of officers and they're bad. Because
Absolutely.
your job is to serve and protect.
So it almost sounds like it's hard for the good officers, though, man. When you're caught up in the system and you're swimming upstream and everybody else just going with the flow, you know what I mean? You're going against the current, man. This ain't an easy task to do. You know what I mean?
Well, think about this. Think about suicides. I've seen suicides. I've seen heroin overdoses. I've seen kids that have been dead, molested, all that stuff. Think about that. I have to do that as a cop, just a cop. Now think about the fact that I have to deal with, will black people in my community accept me?
Mm-hmm.
Will they accept me, or am I a sellout? Well, I'm trying to stand up for you guys, but now I got the officers over here who think I'm part of Black Lives Matter. So the black people think I'm part of Blue Lives Matter, and I only care about cops. And then the people over here think that I only care about Black Lives Matter. But the thing is, when I got off duty and I drove home, I worked in St. Louis County, but I lived in St. Charles. When I drove home, no one thought I was blue.
Exactly.
Can't tell.
No
They
one.
got their uniform on.
When I was wearing jeans and a T-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
nobody knew I was a cop. I was black. And when my issue with the Blue Lives Matter is your life is not blue. Your life is not blue.
Period.
And we're humans, but we know how society sees white, black, things like that. And don't say you're colorblind just because when you say you're colorblind, then you're blind to my experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're blind to the fact that I'm black and I have to go through certain stuff. Just like if
Right.
you're white, you have to go through something. Just like if you're gay, just whatever it is, you have to go through something. And I need to recognize that. And so the Blue Lives Matter, just to close, the Blue Lives Matter thing is, no, these people are fighting to be treated equally.
Absolutely.
And you know what they always say? People always say, well, you know, how many interactions happen where black people actually get killed by the police? There's millions of stops, and it hardly ever happens. But here's the problem. It only takes one time.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes your son.
Absolutely.
And then does it matter that it was 1 in a million?
Right.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Absolutely.
But it, for so many people, it has to hit you.
Yep.
And that's
And
what it is.
regardless, black people are disproportionately more likely to experience police brutality or dying by a police
Absolutely,
fire.
but absolutely, actually 3.5 times higher
Right.
than any.
And guess
other
what? There's
race.
black officers that also do that as well.
Absolutely.
That take advantage of their power. So it's not just a black and white thing, but you cannot say that race does not play a role.
And so
Absolutely.
like you to your point of the blue isn't your the blue
You
is
can take that
you
off.
aren't blue exactly.
You can take that off
You can
whenever you're
take
ready.
that off, and like you said, once you take off the blue, you are black.
Yeah.
When they take off the blue, they're white. So
Yeah.
the blue doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like so, how can you even compare blue lives? That's your job.
Yeah.
That's not who
It's a
you
choice.
are.
You can
That's
walk
a
away from
choice.
it
You
right
can take
now.
it off.
I can't
We
take
can
this
never
off.
take this off.
You know why I didn't complain whenever there was a bunch of protests or anything going on that I had to deal with, or when I went to a call. I didn't really complain out because I'm just like, I signed up for this.
Oh,
No one forced me to go to the police academy.
That's right.
No one forced me to become what I wanted to be. I chose this.
Mhm.
And if you choose to be a cop, if you choose to be a police officer, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Am I saying something groundbreaking here?
No.
Do the right thing. But the problem
It don't
is,
sound like a fairy tale.
It-
man.
it's-
It does. It
Well,
absolutely does.
well, there's all across the world, there are police departments where they talk about, I don't know if it's Australia or whoever, they hardly have any shootings ever. Now, of course, America loves guns, so
Yeah,
that's a
right.
whole another dynamic. But at the end of the day, the amount of force that we use, I promise this is a true story. I was watching a video on a movie on Netflix the other night, and the movie was in the Netherlands. The dude took off in the car, and the police had their guns out. They didn't shoot. They didn't even shoot at the car. Now think about an American
Right.
movie or how American, they're gonna be blasting, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's how we are seen across the world, is we're just gun toting, and we just, our police and people that I've met from other countries look at us like, why do so many people die? Like,
So we really don't care about humanity.
We have to do a better job, and being a police officer is a hard job. It's a tough job, but it's a job that you signed up for.
Absolutely.
No one forced you to be a cop.
And what I'm hearing from what you're saying, like, it might not always be that they're in fear for their life. That might just be the get out of jail free card. You know what I mean?
Well, you have to value a person's life. You have to value a person's life.
And apparently, as
Black
we all
lives
know,
don't matter.
Black lives don't matter. I mean, they haven't mattered to anybody. We weren't even the Constitution. Like trip off of that wasn't even. We were excluded.
We originally
like 1/3 of a human.
3/5.
Oh,
We're
3/5 of a human.
But why could that ever be a thing when we are actually human beings? The only thing that separates us is this thing right here.
But you know the thing for me is, I want black people to have rights. I want white people to have
Absolutely.
rights. I want women to have rights. Like, there's a lot of oppressed
Indians.
people, Hispanics, everything, Pacific Islanders, everybody. It's just the fact that when we have when there's a movement going on, people want to tell us, well, white lives matter. We know. I live in listen. I live in a white area. I went to white college. We know that. Yeah. My best friends are white. It's not about that I have anything against white people. It's about the fact that we know that you matter. Right. Have we mattered? And when we talk about making America great again, we won't get political. But when was it great for all of us?
Yeah. Not even ever.
I just want to make it great.
Absolutely.
In general,
right.
For everybody. And so we got to work towards that. And it doesn't have to be a political. Why is it a political slogan to say Black Lives Matter?
Right.
And it's not the point like we're saying anything else does not matter. Right. That is not the Black Lives Matter movement. It's again what we said, Black Lives Matter also. Yeah. So we're not saying that your lives don't matter at all. Exactly. What you guys have shown us is that our lives don't matter. Right. So we're only trying to bring that to the forefront. Right. We haven't shown you that your life doesn't matter. Yeah. We haven't shown cops that your life don't matter. We haven't shown white people that your life don't matter because we don't even have enough power to be able to do that.
That is the thing. And I'm not worried about the racist that drives a pickup truck in rural Missouri because he has a Confederate flag and he says the N-word. He's ignorant. I don't care about him. You're an idiot to me. Yeah. He has no power. Right. No one cares about him. And guess what? The people at the top, they look at you. They look at you the same way they look at us.
Yep.
The problem is when you're in a position of power, and the most powerful position in America is not judge, it's not president, it's not vice president, it's not senator, it's police officer. You know why? Because a police officer can take your life. Can a senator, no matter what senator it is that doesn't like you, can they take your life? No. Can the president? None of them can take your life. And if you commit a crime, a judge has to go through trial.
Right. Well, let's talk about legally because I was just thinking. I'm thinking about, and I know I'm probably thinking about movies and stuff, but people get people killed. Like how people get people killed, and they like allegedly based on our Black Lives Matter movements. A couple of people in the city of St. Louis has lost Darren Sears lost their life, and they think that it was government based, you know what I'm saying, like some type of authority based, So people get people killed, but who's doing the killing and who gets to take your life legally and not get prosecuted? It's the police.
And the police officer, in America is the most powerful position because
absolutely,
if me and you are on the street right now and I pull you over and I kill you. All it takes is that I felt in fear for my life. And guess what? If you have a gun that's legal, that's even better. Because now I can say that you try to pull a gun. Who's got the prints on it? It's got your prints on it.
You can't tell your story now.
And guess what? Because one thing we know, body cameras are not always on, and they don't always work. Right. And then, even if the body camera's on, we know that there's certain situations that, they still find a way to get them out. So, police officer is the most powerful position in America.
So, man, tell me about that night that changed your life, man.
Especially because we're talking about police brutality, and we're not talking about you brutalizing anybody, right?
No, of course not.
Exactly.
So, I never had a complaint against me for use of force or anything like that.
So let's take a second to talk about that.
Yeah. So. At this point, I had been a police officer for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I had a Dodge Charger car that I really liked. Of course, it's kind of a fast car. I'm thinking, I got a good job, all this stuff, blah blah. So, it's souped up. It's V8. I got the rims, the aftermarket. It's pretty. And so my friend lived in Soulard at the time, and I lived in St. Charles, and so we bounced back and forth about where we go out. And so I had just bought this car, and I'm like, I being a cop, I pay attention to everything, and I know that in that area that he was in, it was a good area, but they were carjacking. Good, they were jacking rims off cars and carjacking cars and stuff. So I didn't want to leave it overnight, so I said, okay, I'm gonna drive. I'm gonna take you, and I'm gonna drop you off, and I'm gonna drive home. So I'm not really gonna drink or anything like that, and I'm not gonna get into every little detail just because it's litigating. I'm in a lawsuit against the city right now, and so I'm gonna tell as much as I can. And so yeah, so we go out, we come back, I drop him off, and I'm driving through the city, North City, kind of an abandoned area, going to the other side of the highway so I can get home and I'm testing out the gear shifts, and I'm not going 100 miles an hour or anything, but it's slick, so I crash into a pole, electric pole. No one's around, no one's hurt. I'm not hurt. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. Get out of the car. Look, car's damaged, obviously. So no one's around me. I'm wearing some Abercrombie and Fitch jeans and an Express T-shirt. Okay, so not that threatening. So I see a police SUV pull up, and they don't have their lights or sirens on or anything. And so I'm still black in America. So even though I'm a cop, they don't know I'm a cop. I'm not blue. I'm black. So they say, they pull up, and so I immediately put my hands up, and not like, just, hey, they get out. I say, hey, I'm off duty, St. Louis County. White male, white female. White male says, shut the F up, get the F on the ground. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, huh? Like, what? I'm kind of in shock, like, what are you talking about? I'm a cop. Shut the F up, get the F on the ground. Comes up to me, body slams me to the ground. I'm yelling at this point. I'm a cop. I'm a cop. I'm a cop. He says, shut the F up. I don't give a F who you are. I'm screaming about that. He's yelling at me. He cuffs me, and I'm still screaming. And he ends up tasing me 3 times while I'm cuffed. So, female officer goes over to the passenger side, opens the door and says, where are the guns? Where are the guns? And I'm like, thinking in my head, like at this point, like I'm a cop. And so all this goes on. So they tase me 3 times. I've got a scar from the cuffs. I'm bleeding from my back. He pushed my face into the ground. And so, I get picked up after all this BS happens. And then other officers show up and they put me in the back of a police van. And I'm telling the police officer in the back of the police van when he's up front, saying, this is what happened. I was by myself. I got into an accident. They show up and they beat the you-know-what out of me. And right there, not some story I made up 2 weeks later, 2 months later. I told them that night. It's on video. And, they send the black lieutenant back to me like that means something to me, to come talk to me. And he's like, are you injured? Do you need medical attention? I said, I'm injured, but I don't want medical attention until pictures of my injuries are taken. He says, no, we're not taking pictures of injuries. I say, it's a use of force. I'm asking for pictures. I'm a cop. I want pictures of my injuries. And they said, no. He says, no, we're not doing that. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so this is BS. Mm-hmm. And so then he goes on to say that, well, they say that you ran from them. And I'm like, want to laugh. I'm like, what? He says that they try to pull you over and that you ran from them. I'm like, I ran from them. I'm a cop. I'm in the city, which we know how the city policing is. It's not very good. Let me take that back. I'm being too blunt here. The city policing is different. And so they're not about to, I'm a cop. They tried to pull me over, and I didn't pull over because I'm, scared of the police. I'll show them my badge, like, not a problem. He said, yeah, they said you tried to run, and then you tried to, in your car, and then you tried to fight them. This is BS. So then they try to say that they said, have you been drinking? And I said, yeah, I had a drink. I had a Long Island. And they're like, well, we're going to give you, you need to take a breathalyzer. I'm like, I'm not taking a breathalyzer. I'm like, they just beat the you-know-what out of me. I want to cuss, but I'm not going to. They beat the you know what out of me, and that's what we need to talk about. I'm not drunk. This is ridiculous. I'm talking to you fine. You know that I'm not drunk, and they're looking for their reason, their excuse. How can we get out of this? And so I say I want a field sobriety test, and they say no field sobriety. So why can't I take a field sobriety test? Like,
What? Are you serious?
Yes.
So the more times often than not, when you get pulled over, that's one of the first things cops want to pull out. Let's do a field sobriety test.
Yeah.
And you were asking for it.
Yeah, because I knew I wasn't drunk, and it's just ridiculous. And you don't, and me being a cop and me just knowing how things work is, you need probable cause. You need a reason to think. And I'm a cop, so you should definitely, not that I should be treated better, but you should know that I know better.
Right.
I know what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
So seriously, I'm like, no field sobriety test, and no pictures of my injuries.
And so all this is going on while you still have the cuffs on.
Still have the cuffs on. I'm in the back of the police van.
Wow.
And I said I'll take pictures. I'll take medical attention when I get pictures, but I'll refuse. And I signed. I think they uncut me or something. I signed basically off my medical rights because I didn't need medical attention until pictures of my injuries were taken, because I already knew at that moment you guys are in trouble.
Right.
I'm documenting it. I've been a cop and I've been black my whole life. I know how the system works. Because if you don't have pictures or you don't have contemporaneous evidence, they try to lie and say that you didn't. No, that's not what happened. He could have got that from playing with his dog or something. No. So then they, I end up taking the blood alcohol test or whatever, and I end up blowing .084, which is 4/10 over the legal limit. However, at the time of the accident, because they were BSing for so long, at the time of the accident, I was under the legal limit. Because when you drink alcohol, it doesn't just hit you.
Right.
It takes a time to you rise up, and then you'll come back down or whatever. So, seriously, so they take me to the jail. This is right before Super Bowl night in 2018, and yeah, so it's that Saturday. So Sunday morning, they take me in, and I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna charge me DWI. Like, this is BS. This is stupid. Whatever. Let me just get out of here. Take me to the city jail, and it's been a few hours. I'm like, hey, why am I not released? Mind you, I'm in general population at this point. I'm a cop.
Whoa.
So I'm not walking around. They put me in a little cell, but still, like, I'm a cop.
And so they didn't give you no type of.
I was in
treatment.
Well, they moved me to a different place after the fact, but at the end of the day, like, when I was walked in, I was still walked in general population,
Wow.
And so first time I ever been in jail, last time too. So yeah, so I'm like, why am I not released? They said, yeah, your bond is $15,000 cash only, and you've been on TV, and they charge you with resisting arrest and armed criminal action, which are 2 felonies. I'm like, stop playing. I swear, he turns the computer monitor. This is probably, I don't know, it's in the morning. I can see the story with my mugshot on it, and the anchor's talking about me and saying what happened. Off-duty St. Louis County officer, resists arrest and fights police and tries to run in his car and crashes in the city, and he's drunk and he's this and he's that. And I'm just like, are you? And it wasn't 15,000, just 10%. 15,000 cash only.
Jeez.
Yeah. So absolute BS. Now, to get into a little bit what happened, I was in an accident on my own. They weren't around me. They tried to lie and say that they tried to pull me over and that I ran and I crashed. Now, here's the funny part. They said that the reason they tried to pull me over was because I went the wrong way down a one-way street. In this police report, I promise you, go look up the police report. In the police report, it says I went like north down such and such street. And he went the wrong way, so we were going to pull him over. If you look on Google Maps, if you go down there to the street, the police report, hopefully it's public, you will see that you can only go north on that street. It says on Google Maps you can only go north on that street. So they said I was going the wrong way down the street, but in the report it also says I was going the right way. Because you can only go that way down the street. So, first of all, you lied about lying. You already lying, number one. Number two, they said that they turned their lights and sirens on for like a second, 1 or 2 seconds. And they said they were like 3 blocks away. So even if you try to pull me over, you were 3 blocks away and you turned your lights on for 1 or 2 seconds, and I'm supposed to know that's for me? Like, how many people the police turn the lights on, and if they're far away, you're not pulling over for them because you're thinking, okay, they're going this way, they're going this way. You may pull over just so they can get by, but you're not going to pull over thinking it's for you. It could be for anybody.